What's up, folks, and welcome to Indie Ramble. Oh boy, this is a fun one. I've been looking forward to this coming out for a good while, and I'm happy to say that I was generally not disappointed in it. This is Terror of Hemasaurus, and well, it's a modern Rampage. If you're an old fogey like me, you might remember the excellent Data East title that came out on a billion platforms back in the day, all about big monsters smashing stuff. And that's very much what this is. If there's a game that's better suited to getting some steam let off after a bad day, this might be one of the best of them, for sure. So this comes to us from the single-person developer behind Super Blood Hockey, which is a game I covered a number of years ago on this channel, and is still absolutely fantastic. That I love it to death. And this is a very different kind of game, but made in very much the same kind of cathartic vein. So, it's up to 4 players, local only, unfortunately. There is no online, though if you're on PC, you could Steam Remote Play this or Parsec it, no problem whatsoever. There are 4 different characters that you can play. They all play the same except for their special attacks, but this is kind of my favorite one here, Salamandra. There is a story mode and an endless mode. I'm going to show you the endless mode because it has all the different things you can do unlocked right away, and it still shows the core gameplay very well. The story in this game is very tongue-in-cheek, it's very fourth wall breaking, it's very goofy, but I'm also going to say that the developer, it's a little bit nihilistic, and I think the developer's getting a little bit of his own anger out in it. It's generally funny, but it's making fun of the state of the world and the things that's leading to, in a way that's sometimes maybe a little more blunt than you might think for a game trying to be goofy like this, but it works nonetheless. It's also a very short campaign. It won't take you very long to get through. This is honestly the meat of it here. And well, as you can see, it's unbridled carnage at its best. Your goal in both the campaign in different capacities, but in this endless mode here, is to wreck stuff. Wreck as much of it as you can, rack up a lot of score, kill everybody, break everything. You can eat people for health, and you can jump around, you can do butt slams, you can eventually you'll be able to smash like military stuff. There are blimps in this because why not? Blimps are cool to blow up, and everything just has this fantastic visceral feel to it. Even though it's all pixel art, I mean, look at that. It's complete chaos, and it just feels so satisfying to just wreck a bunch of stuff here with reckless abandon and being encouraged to do it. It's all about being the bad guy, this game. Well, the campaign kind of sort of, but I won't spoil that. There's the special move of this guy here. So you'll see in the upper left there, you got a couple meters, you got your score, you got your health, and the purple one is your special meter, which you fill up by wrecking things, as one might expect. And like I said, every character has different special moves. They all do a lot of damage, but they impact things in different ways. This is my favorite one, but there are alternatives that you can do. And if you're playing in co-op, you can have more than one character doing that stuff if you want. So your goal in most of the levels is to achieve certain targets, whether in the endless mode it's just destruction, but in the campaign there can be things like destroy X number of this, or kill this many civilians, or, there's one level where you have to save animals because this thing hates humans, but if you try to like pick up a dog or a cat in this, it actually, rather than eat it or destroy it, cuddles it. It's adorable. It's really good. So there you go. You get to the end of a stage. It gives you your time, your fatalities, the percentage of the level you destroyed, and financial damage. The financial damage is just a goofy stat. It doesn't mean anything. But in the campaign, there are leaderboards for this as well, which are, there's actually 2 different kinds of leaderboards, which will gauge you on both the score you've attained and also how quickly you completed the level. So there's 2 different metrics that you can measure yourself against, which is kind of cool. And the leaderboards are online, which is nice. This is rather basic online leaderboard functionality, but it does the job, which is always cool. No replays for the leaderboards. Do you need that in this? Not really. This is not... I like to see replays in games like Shmups, but in this, it really doesn't matter. And this is much more fun to play than watch, honestly. And as you can see there, I mean, the game points out anytime when you score on something, you achieve a mass extinction event in an apartment building like that. You just see numbers flying everywhere. That's score. You will get score for destroying things in more interesting ways, for destroying bigger things like helicopters or blimps or cars or things like that. And as you can see, you can achieve a crazy amount of destruction in this, and it doesn't bat an eye. I mean, yes, I'm playing this on a crazy gaming rig, but this game it's a 2D engine, so you could play this on a potato and it would probably handle things quite well. So it's great. But I really like the pixel art style that the developer goes for with this game. And with Super Blood Hockey as well. All the characters are very small, but everything's very colorful, and all the characters, despite their small size, all kind of have their own personalities to them, which really comes through very obviously, which I quite like. Oh, that's so satisfying. It all, you can communicate a lot with with imagery that doesn't necessarily have to be very high resolution, and I think this game does that very, very well. This is definitely more than you could do on an NES, but that's kind of the era it's aiming for in terms of graphics. The soundtrack, which is the only thing that I think it's Loren Lemcke. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name. I probably am. The music is the only thing he didn't do. I believe this is the same composer who did Super Blood Hockey, and it's fantastic NES square wave type of chiptune stuff. Really, really good. Really, really good stuff. And honestly, I mean, we're not too far into the video, but you're seeing the bulk of this here. So as you go through the different levels, there's different kind of structures and things like that. Oh, the butt slam attack is that one there. Absolutely love it. And you see there's aerial vehicles in this, which you get stuff for blowing up. There will be military vehicles later, both ground and air-based, that you're going to have to deal with, as well as military guys later that will do things like shoot missiles at you. Though you can kick those missiles back at them, and there's an achievement for doing that a certain number of times if you want, so that's something to keep in mind as well. And like I said, the campaign is pretty goofy. It has a lot of cutscenes in it. The story is goofy, but like I said, also a little bit nihilistic. But it's fairly quick to get through. It's fairly short. It kind of melds the tutorial in with the story, sort of teaching you the different mechanics and different type of vehicles and things you're going to deal with. But it's not going to take you very long to get through. This mode, obviously, you can replay multiple times and go for high scores and things like that. And the thing that I like about this is, much like Super Blood Hockey, it's not trying to be overly complicated. Super Blood Hockey was not trying to be a sports game the way it's traditionally viewed. It was being just dumb fun. It was all about, hey, this is a hockey game in theory, but it's about beating people and literally injuring the other players horribly to win the game. It's more about the good visceral gameplay experience than about any attempt at being serious or overly complicated and deep. And that's what this one is too. And I think it's much like Super Blood Hockey. I think this does an absolutely fantastic job. It doesn't have an overly broad scope. It's trying to do a particular thing and do it very well. And that thing is providing the kind of simple, easy to pick up and play experience where you could come home after a bad day at work and just wreck a bunch of stuff and feel a little bit better afterwards, but also provides enough in the scoring system and the leaderboards and whatnot that you can play in a competitive way too if you want. Or if you do, this is a game where you could have a bunch of people over at your at your place, people who've never played games before, and just say, here's a controller, the A button jumps, the X button punches, and if that purple thing is full, you press right trigger to do crazy big stuff. And that's all you need to do. You could take a non-gamer, put them in front of this, and they'd have a great time with it. And that's what was great about Rampage back in the day. Rampage was an arcade game, so it was a lot harder than this because it was designed to get your money. But it was super easy to understand, super easy to learn, had no pretentiousness to it whatsoever. It was just about being a big monster that wrecked stuff for points, and That's what this is aiming for. I think this developer is extremely good at having a narrow focus that's really just about taking a particular one-sentence concept, if you will, and just finding the most fun possible within that narrow scope. And honestly, this is the kind of game I love the most. I've said it before. I'm what I call a mechanics first gamer, which is that, and a lot of this comes from my growing up in the era of gaming where things like heavy stories and narratives and that was less commonplace. But I love games that can tell good stories, but I will always take a game that's just fun to play and has no story over a game with a really good story and boring gameplay. It's why I have such very high standards for quote-unquote walking simulators. The game has got to be fun to play first and foremost. If you can tell a good story within that, awesome. But you gotta be fun to play first. And if I got to take fun to play over story, I'll take fun to play any day of the week. And that's what this is. This is just good fun. This endless mode has no story to it whatsoever, and it doesn't need it. And while I do think the developer was trying to maybe get out some frustrations in the world with the narrative that he told in the campaign, it's not preachy. You know, you can tell obviously what his opinions are on a lot of issues, and their opinions I largely share, but it's not a complicated story, and it's designed to be more funny than nihilistic, to be sure. Oh god, you see how satisfying this is? You can't play this and not have a goofy smile on your face. If you like fun in even its most basic lizard brain sense, you can't play this game and not just giggle at it, because it's just ridiculous. It's so much fun. And yeah, he nailed it again. Super Blood Hockey is a game that I still have recommended to people to this day. I've had people at LAN parties and stuff who've watched me fire that game up and gone and bought it right there because they were just like, dude, this just looks like such stupid fun, and I could put anybody in front of this and they'd have a good time with it. And that's what he did for hockey, and this is what he did for Rampage. You can't ask for better than that. You know, the story mode, could it be longer? Yeah. Could he maybe have done a little bit more with the leaderboards to make things maybe a little bit more competitive? Yeah, I suppose. I think a sort of challenge mode would be cool, which the story kind of has a little bit, where the story's like, there's some missions in the story where it's like, destroy this many of this kind of vehicle, or destroy these kinds of buildings but not these kinds of buildings, or don't kill this kind of character or something like that. I think a dedicated challenge mode where there are goals that you have to hit, and they may be difficult ones, right? Like, I'm talking a challenge mode as in literally a challenge mode. One of those things where you're given an objective that's difficult and may require a lot of practice. That kind of thing I think would go really well in this. That's something he could obviously add in an update later if he so chose. I think that would be a nice little addition to keep replay value going. But at the end of the day, I think the real value in this is to either give yourself, like I said, this little visceral outlet, or if you want a good party game. You know, this is one of those games like Duck Game or Tricky Towers or the Jackbox games or anything else like that that's good to just keep around, either on your laptop or on your Switch. And this is on the Switch. I'd probably buy it again on there, to be honest with you, just to have it nearby. Where if you got some people over, or you're over at somebody else's place and you just go, hey, you guys want to play, you guys want to play a little bit of this, you guys want to go wreck some, you guys want to go wreck some stuff. And it's a good party favor to pull out and just, mess around with. Easy to get into, and everybody can just play it and have a smile on their face and be like, hey, I'm playing Godzilla, that's awesome. And this developer really gets that idea and really gets why that's an important thing. There are a lot of good couch co-op and couch competitive games out there, but a lot of them are either complicated to get into and more made for more hardcore players, or are good but don't have the simple yet satisfying mechanics that something like this does. This developer absolutely gets that niche, and his stuff, I think, carries the torch for that type of thing better than a lot of other games do. And that's really the value of this. The campaign's fun, yeah, but it's fairly short. Is it worth the asking price on its own? No, probably not. Is this endless mode fun? Yeah. Will you probably get bored with it after a certain point playing it by yourself? You might, because this is sort of one slice of what's in the campaign, and there's no additional challenge mode to it. It's just go through level after level trying to destroy stuff while the difficulty ramps up. But the real value in this is, like a duck game or a Tricky Towers, is just having this around for the right time, when there's people about that you can play it with, and to have that smile on your face while everyone else has it too, because they're playing something that's just this kind of goofy fun. That's where the value is, and that's where I absolutely think it's worth its asking price. I've been having a ton of fun with this. I'm definitely keeping it installed. I do have my laptop that I sometimes bring to you know, get-togethers or things like that, but I honestly think I will buy this again on my Switch, because obviously this game could run on a potato, the Switch will run it no problem, and that's the kind of thing where you can just pull it out with a couple of controllers and say, hey, let's go. You know, the Switch is easier to get hooked up and running for stuff like that than a gaming laptop is, and I think this is perfect for that, along with Super Blood Hockey. So yeah, that is Terror of Hemasaurus. As you can tell, I think this is a blast. From the moment it was announced, I knew I was going to love it, and it did not disappoint. Highly recommend. I think you could pick this up and enjoy it just for yourself, but especially if you find yourself in a position where you can have party games in the mix, just grab it. Trust me, you are gonna, if you like fun in any respect, you're gonna love this, I guarantee it. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. I do appreciate it. If you like what you saw here, please do all the normal YouTube things, like, subscribe, hit the bell, leave a comment down below. Tell me, what do you think of this? What are some other good party, you know, good to have around for social situations kind of games other than the ones that I mentioned? There's a million others. I'd love to hear what your options are. You know, would you pick this up on PC, or is this a game you'd really rather have on your Switch? For the reasons I mentioned or others. Always love to know about that. And as always, you can follow me over at twitch.tv/pxabstraction for multiple variety streams a week. I cover other indies as well as retro stuff over there, including stuff that's better suited to streaming than YouTube. We have a fantastic community there, and I would love to see you be a part of it. Thanks again, all, and I will see you on the next Indie Ramble. You folks have yourselves a good one. Take her easy.